Gaming hardware prices were supposed to fall by now. Supply chains normalized. Inflation cooled from its peak. New console generations matured. PC components became easier to find. On paper, everything pointed toward cheaper GPUs, consoles, and accessories. Yet prices remain stubbornly high. The real reason gaming hardware prices aren't falling has very little to do with shortages anymore, and almost everything to do with how the gaming industry now makes money, manages risk, and defines value. To understand this, you have to start with how pricing logic has changed. For years, gaming hardware followed a familiar pattern. Launch high, then steadily drop in price as manufacturing scaled, components got cheaper, and competition increased. Hardware margins were often thin, sometimes even negative, because companies expected to make money later through games, subscriptions, and services. That model has quietly broken. Today, gaming hardware is no longer just a gateway product, it's a profit center. And once hardware becomes a profit center, prices stop behaving the way consumers expect. Manufacturers learned a painful lesson during the supply shock years. Even at higher prices, demand stayed strong. Gamers complained, but they still bought. Limited availability didn't kill sales. It increased urgency. That revealed something critical to hardware makers. Demand was less price-sensitive than previously assumed. Once companies see that, prices don't come back down easily. Another major reason gaming hardware prices aren't falling is cost structure. While supply chains have stabilized, costs did not revert to pre-pandemic levels. Advanced chips are more expensive to design and manufacture. Cutting-edge fabrication nodes cost significantly more. Energy costs remain elevated. Labor costs are higher. Logistics are more complex. Even when component prices soften slightly, overall production costs stay sticky. At the same time, hardware itself has become more complex. GPUs aren't just graphics devices anymore. They're AI accelerators. Consoles are essentially specialized computers with custom silicon, advanced cooling, and long-term software support baked into the price. You're not paying just for performance. You're paying for longevity. Another overlooked factor is pacing. Hardware companies are intentionally slowing refresh cycles. Instead of frequent price cuts, they're using mid-generation refreshes, premium tiers, and feature segmentation to maintain pricing power. Rather than lowering prices, they add a pro version. This strategy keeps the average selling price high without officially raising prices across the board. Entry-level options remain expensive, but higher-end models make those prices feel justified by comparison. Gaming hardware pricing is now anchored from the top down. There's also less competitive pressure than people assume. The number of major players capable of producing high-end gaming hardware is small. Barriers to entry are massive. Chip design expertise, manufacturing access, and ecosystem integration are not easily replicated. When competition is limited, price wars become unlikely. On the PC side, GPUs illustrate this perfectly. Performance gains still exist, but generational leaps are smaller relative to cost increases. Manufacturers price based on perceived value, not raw improvement. If a new card is positioned as premium, it gets a premium price, regardless of whether consumers feel the jump is worth it. Marketing sets expectations. Pricing follows narrative. Another critical reason prices aren't falling is that gaming itself has become more monetized. Subscriptions, downloadable content, live service games, and digital storefronts generate recurring revenue. That recurring revenue reduces the incentive to subsidize hardware aggressively. If users are locked into ecosystems and spending consistently, there's less pressure to attract them with cheaper devices. Ironically, the success of digital monetization keeps hardware expensive. There's also a risk management angle. Hardware pricing now reflects uncertainty. Companies are cautious about overproducing, over-discounting, and eroding margins in an unpredictable global environment. They would rather sell fewer units at higher margins than chase volume with price cuts. This mindset prioritizes stability over growth. Another factor pushing prices up is the expanded audience. Gaming hardware is no longer just for gamers. Content creators, streamers, developers, and AI hobbyists compete for the same components. That broader demand supports higher price floors, even if traditional gaming demand softens. Hardware makers price for the strongest buyer, not the most price-sensitive one. Consumer psychology also plays a role. Over time, expectations have adjusted upward. What once felt expensive now feels normal. Companies rarely reverse price normalization unless demand collapses. As long as sales continue, even at a slower pace, there's no urgency to cut prices. Waiting becomes the strategy. The real reason gaming hardware prices aren't falling is that the old assumption no longer holds. Cheaper over time is no longer guaranteed. Hardware is being priced as a premium, long-term platform, not a disposable entry point. That doesn't mean prices will never fall. Discounts still happen. Bundles appear. Older models phase out. But broad, permanent price drops are no longer the default outcome of a mature generation. The industry has learned that holding the line works. For consumers, this creates frustration. For manufacturers, it creates predictability. And in today's market, predictability is more valuable than volume. Gaming hardware prices aren't staying high because companies can't lower them. They're staying high because companies don't need to. And as long as demand, ecosystems, and expectations support that reality, the era of rapid automatic price drops is likely over.